Right, so if you watched my last movie, you've seen my worst 10 movies of the year with 5 dishonorable mentions. Now let's get on to the best of list. I hinted in my last video that I thought this year, 2018, wasn't quite as strong for movies as 2017, but there were still some really, really good films. There were just a lot of mediocre ones as well. So anyway, I'm going to talk now about the best ones, beginning with the 5 honourable mentions, starting with
A Quiet Place.
As you'll know, if you watched my worst of list, there were a few really, really crappy horror movies like Winchester and The Nun, but Quiet Place was brilliant. This is what I think of when I think of a great horror movie. It's got very, very likable characters. It has a fantastic atmosphere, and I love the fact that it played on like a sort of very instinctual urge of ours. You know, where you hear sounds all the time. And the idea of these people trying to live completely without sound and the slightest sound attracts these monsters, I thought was fascinating, and it always, keeps you right on the edge of your seats. And there's some silent moments where I could actually feel myself like gripping the chair. It's really, really tense. The whole monsters hearing sounds is sometimes inconsistent. Sometimes things make sounds, sometimes they don't. But I really like this movie, and apparently there's going to be a sequel. And yeah, I'm definitely down for watching that because I thought this was great.
Sicario, Day of the Soldado.
I was a huge fan of the first Sicario movie. I thought it was one of the best thrillers I'd seen in a while, largely because it didn't do what a lot of thriller movies did. There wasn't lots of fast editing. There wasn't lots of really loud music or anything. It was really calm. It was very well directed. I love the sort of sweeping camera shots, and it was all the more exciting for it. So I was really happy when they made a sequel. This movie's great too. It's maybe not as good as the original, kind of diminishing returns, but all the trademarks are there. It's still crafted brilliantly. Josh Brolin and especially Benicio del Toro are fantastic. I love both those actors, and it's still really high stakes situation. It's about the Mexican drug cartel this time, but it's still as expertly made as the first movie. So yeah, I really, really like this one.
Deadpool 2.
Like a lot of people, I loved the first Deadpool movie. It was irreverent as all hell. It was really, really funny. And it was just a brand new look at superhero movies. I'm a big fan of the subversive superhero films, where the characters make fun of other superheroes, or where they make fun of the fact it's a superhero movie. All the inconsistencies and weird villain plans and such. So Deadpool 2 was, again, like Sicario, not as good as the first movie. I didn't think it was as consistently funny. But I still got got a lot of laughs out of it. Ryan Reynolds, he was really born to play Deadpool. This Deadpool, not the X-Men Origins Wolverine one, of course. But it was just so much fun. Again, it's just poking fun out of the superhero movies, doing it in a really tongue-in-cheek way. And you can get an idea of how irreverent this movie is. If you look at the poster, it says along the top, from the studio that killed Wolverine. So yeah, this movie is it's a superhero movie, and it's just having fun with the fact it's a superhero movie, which we need to see a lot more of, I think.
Incredibles 2.
I'll freely admit I was not the biggest fan of The Incredibles when it first came out, but in the lead up to this movie's release, I went back and watched it, and I enjoyed it a lot more a second time round. And then it's in Incredibles 2, and I really liked that too. If I had one criticism for the film, it's that I think the villain was a lot better in the first one. Jason Lee's Syndrome was a lot better than the screenslaver in this one, but other than that, all the ingredients that made the first one great, the family dynamic, the writing, Brad Bird's direction, the animation, the action sequences, all are here. And yeah, it was just a really, really enjoyable film. I'd definitely watch it again. Are they going to make a third one? They might do. But I really enjoyed this one. Also, am I the only one that noticed that they actually dropped the from the title? The first one was The Incredibles. This one was just Incredibles 2. So I guess the was holding it back. But I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Juliet Naked.
If I was to give out an award for best movie of 2018 that you didn't see, it would likely go to Juliet Naked. This one fell under a lot of people's radars, but I'm really, really glad I got the chance to see it. This was a very, very, just a lovely film. It's one of those really nice movies. It's a rom-com, and I think the problem with a lot of rom-coms is a lot of them, they're just packed full of cliches and they stick to a very predictable formula. Juliet Naked, for the most part, manages to avoid a lot of them, and it just tells like a very honest, very human story. The performances are fantastic. Ethan Hawke and Rose Byrne are both fantastic. Chris O'Dowd is funny. He's kind of a douche in the movie, but he's a funny douche at least. It's full of characters just having very realistic conversations, saying very, like believable things. Like one thing I hate in rom-coms is when characters either withhold information or they just speak very vaguely, which leads to misunderstandings. But this movie manages not to do that. And yeah, it's just a really, really nice movie. It's really funny. It's really clever. It's not over sentimental. And like I say, it's just a really lovely film. Okay, so those are my honourable mentions. Now let's get on to the actual list, beginning with...
Number 10, A Simple Favour.
This film is a great example of a mystery movie done right. It's not a film that tries to confuse you, tries to overwhelm you. It's at heart a very, very simple story, but because there's so many different elements, because there's so many different things woven in to the main fabric of it, it becomes truly, truly fascinating. It's a film like 12 Angry Men, which puts you in a position where you're forced to try and solve the mystery along with the characters. You're trying to guess, what they're going to guess next. And it's great. And for me, the best thing about this film was the two lead performances, Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. They're both just fantastic in this movie. When you watch a film and you can tell it would have been a lot of fun to make, that's exactly what this movie looks like. Anna Kendrick's always wonderful in movies, but Blake Lively was the best for me, playing a villain. She said herself she really enjoyed getting the chance to be a bad guy, a bad lady, but it really shows on screen. She just relishes being able to, at one point be sort of charming and nice, and then in the next scene be like, stab somebody in the back or screw somebody over. She absolutely relishes it, and she does a fantastic job. So it's because of those reasons, because of the fantastic story and the great performances and the writing as well, is why I liked A Simple Favour so much.
Number 9, First Man.
This is another great movie from Damien Chazelle, who brought us Whiplash and La La Land, both of which I absolutely loved. It's a lot more serious than those two. It's partly because it's based on a real story, and also because of just how gritty and authentic everything in it looks. The flying scenes are directed so well. He often has the camera inside the ship, so very rarely do you have a scene where the camera's outside the ship and it's zooming by. It's almost always from inside the cockpit, so it feels constantly like you're the pilot. You see everything that's going on, it feels the constant rattling of the cockpit. And Ryan Gosling is fantastic. He always is, as Neil Armstrong. And because we know what happens in the end, because it's the Apollo 11 mission, we know it got to the moon, the film wisely focuses on the how rather than the if. And it's really, really gritty. It's very realistic looking. I loved the performances. I loved how the movie kept emphasizing the stakes and how dangerous it is, but how, against what how everybody told them it was impossible, they finally did it, and it led to one of the greatest, maybe the greatest achievement of the 20th century. So First Man is a brilliant movie from a brilliant director, and we can hope to see, hopefully, a lot more good stuff from him in the future.
Number 8, A Star is Born.
In preparation for watching this movie, I actually went back and watched the Judy Garland one from 1955. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a bit too long, and it has dated quite a lot, but Judy Garland is fantastic in it. Her acting, and especially her singing, she's just phenomenal. This new one with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, I really, really enjoyed it. Cooper is a fantastic director. The way he helms, the way he constructs a scene, it's really good. He does overindulge himself a bit, holding the camera on himself for a bit too long, but he shows a lot of promise as a director and as an actor. Of course, he's a great actor. But Lady Gaga, I think, acts him off the screen. She's fantastic in this. She's already attracted a lot of rave reviews for her performance. She's very, very believable. I think that's the most important thing, is she's really, really believable. You totally buy her as like this small town girl with a lot of talent who, goes off in the path to superstardom. And I like how the paths of her and Cooper's character sort of pass over each other as she exceeds him, and he keeps going lower and lower. It doesn't do a lot new with the story or with the characters really, but it's so well made. It avoids a lot of the genre cliches. It's just really, really enjoyable. I would definitely recommend this.
Number 7, Teen Titans Go! To the movies.
While this movie wasn't the best that I'd seen in 2018, I think it's safe to say it was the funniest. I was howling with laughter at this movie, especially in the first hour. It's just a really, really clever movie. Really, really well put together. Lots of great jokes. I love the whole concept of Robin wanting to go off on his own, do his own thing, have his own movie, have his own team and stuff. It's explored really well. There's a lot of comic possibilities there because everyone just kind of makes fun of Robin and kicks him around, but he has a great personality in this movie. He's got a lot of pep. There's a lot of fun they can have with this character. For me, this film is like Lego Batman, where characters that are usually so serious, you're suddenly seeing a lighter side to them, and they can joke and they goof about. Like I said with Deadpool 2, I love like subversive superhero movies. So I really, really enjoyed that. Whoever thought of casting Nicolas Cage as Superman, absolute genius. He needs to be in more movies, definitely. Yeah, I loved its goofy nature. I loved the team dynamic. The jokes were great. The animation is really fun. The soundtrack's excellent. It's just one of the most exciting films I've seen in 2018, no doubt.
Number 6, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
When I seen this movie a couple of months ago, not only did I think, wow, this is one of the best films I've seen this year, I also thought this might be, and I've heard other people say this, I thought this might be the best standalone Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. And honestly, I think that's true. I think the second place would be Spider-Man Homecoming, but yeah, I would put this one number 1. It was fantastic. It completely exceeded my expectations. I love the art style, first of all. The whole movie looks fantastic, but it's not absolutely pristine. It's not all crystal clear. I like how there's like a lot of rough edges, a lot of imperfections. It looks a lot more like a comic book. The whole thing looks like that really cool like fancy street like graffiti. It looks like that come to life. It's fantastic. The cast are all brilliant. It's really, really funny. We have Nicolas Cage again. It's a really great story about the whole Spider-Man thing about accepting your responsibility, but it's done in a very mature way about how the hero starts off kind of naive and learns over the course of the adventure to accept his responsibilities. That's really, really well handled. The team dynamic, just like in Teen Titans, was fantastic. It's just a really, really enjoyable movie. It manages to have a lot of fun while also having a serious side, and it manages to be serious without being maudlin, without being over sentimental. It was a riotous good time. I recommend this movie wholeheartedly. It's just brilliant.
Number 5, Game Night.
Not just one of my favourite movies of 2018, but I think one of the most overlooked films of the year. It did pretty well at the box office, but I didn't think it got as much attention as it should have. Game Night's an absurdist black comedy, something I'm a huge fan of, and it's one of those movies where something goes badly wrong at the start, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds. There's a lot of really crazy scenarios. There's a lot of great jokes, a lot of the humour. You don't know whether to be shocked or to laugh at it. I was laughing through the whole film. Like it's just a crazy, crazy movie. I really like the 2 lead performances. I also really like Jesse Plemons. I think that's how you say his name. He plays the neighbour, Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman's neighbour. He's this overzealous cop who's always holding a dog, and he's just really, really unnerving, but in a really funny way. He delivers these really ridiculous, weird lines with a deadpan look on his face, like a Monty Python sketch. And yeah, it fits right in with the really strange atmosphere the movie goes for. Really funny, actually really heartwarming, just really, really enjoyable. I would definitely recommend this movie. It's a lot of fun.
Number 4, Hereditary.
Easily the best horror movie of the year. Hereditary is the kind of film I think of when I think of a proper full-on horror film. It's got a lot of atmosphere, it builds up slowly, it's got empathizable characters, it's got a crazy climax, and there's just a genuine sense of dread throughout. It doesn't rely on jump scares, it's not got doors banging and all that nonsense. There's 1 or 2, but they're kept very, very low-key. Toni Collette is remarkable in this film. I think she should be in awards contention, and she's made a shift now. She was gonna be doing 1 more drama film, and this was it before she moves into comedy because she liked the script so much, and I'm glad she did this. Hereditary is a fantastically made movie. It's chilling all the time because you never know what's going to happen. The characters have no idea what's going on, and the slow filming, the slow moving cameras, it always feels like the characters are being stalked around the house. So I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's one of the few horror movies I would quickly watch again. Definitely watch it if you're a fan of horror. Even if you're not a fan of horror, I think you have to see Hereditary. One of the year's best films, definitely.
Number 3, Upgrade.
This movie, along with Juliet Naked, is a film that I think really flew under the radar this year, but it's another one that I would definitely recommend watching. It's a story of humankind's relationship with technology and how sometimes it can turn kind of ugly. It stars Logan Marshall Green, or not Tom Hardy, as I call him, because he looks quite like him. He's rendered disabled in an accident, and he has this implant in him which allows him to walk, but it also allows the implant to kind of control his body. And it's about, what's the, where do you draw the line between man and machine, and is this kind of symbiotic relationship good for us? It's really good to look at. It's got this futuristic setting, but not too Blade Runner-y. I just really enjoyed this film. I loved the story. I really liked the main character. I liked how he learned to use the chip to his advantage, but occasionally he let that kind of get ahead of him. The villain wasn't that great or anything, but I liked the progression of the story, especially the ending. The film ends on a really grim, bleak note, but I like that now and then. I hate when films force happy endings, when, well, everything has to be happy, then no, that's not how it always turns out. So I like the fact it had that ending. I would definitely see a sequel, but for now, Upgrade is a great movie, and if you haven't seen it already, you definitely should.
Number 2, Avengers Infinity War.
Well, if nothing else, it was definitely the biggest movie of the year, wasn't it? Avengers Infinity War felt more like a cinematic event than just a movie. It's the culmination of all these different storylines, all these different characters, solo series, all been building up to this. We've been waiting for Thanos for a long time, and this didn't disappoint. This was incredible. The makers of this movie had a lot on the plate. They had a lot they had to do to satisfy fans, to bring all this together and to try and make it coherent. I thought it kind of got a bit, crazy at times. It was kind of hard to keep up with a lot, but when it's good, this movie is unreal. It's, I'd say, the best of the Avengers movies, in terms of the stakes and in terms of the fight sequences, in terms of emotion, in terms of pure drama, and that ending as well. That, if you've not seen it, that ending is absolutely devastating. I watched it in a cinema with just a couple of friends, and we were all like, wow, did that just happen? It was insane. I'm kind of worried that they're going to pull something that's going to reverse it later on, which will make it seem kind of meaningless. But for what it is, that's one of the most heart-stopping climaxes to a movie. When you see the end of a movie and the credits roll and you're sat there silent? It was like that when we watched this. It really felt like the culmination of many different storylines all coming together, all these characters all coming together. So, yeah, I can't wait for Endgame next year. This year, actually, I cannot wait for that. But for now, this movie just missed out on the top spot, but it's still one of the best movies I've seen this year, one of the best comic book films I've ever seen.
And number 1, Crazy Rich Asians.
I'm not the biggest rom-com fan in the world, and the fact that a rom-com is topping my best movies of the year list, especially ranking above Infinity War, I'm just as surprised as you are, but that's how good a movie Crazy Rich Asians is. It's a wonderful story about love and about family and about tradition, and as someone who's travelled and worked and lived in Asia for quite a few years, it's great to see such great representation, respectful representation of the culture, of the people, and of the traditions. It's really lovely to see. And the fact this movie did so well at the box office is really encouraging. It shows that the movie industry may be changing for the better. At its heart, it's a simple love story between two people from very different backgrounds who get into a real conflict when it turns out maybe they're incompatible. It avoids a lot of the typical rom-com cliches, and even the ones that are there, it feels natural to the story. It feels organic because the characters actually talk to each other about stuff. Michelle Yeoh as the sort of domineering matriarch, she's fantastic. She's not a cardboard cutout. She's not over the top. She's very calm, very controlled, and it's very understandable to see where she's coming from. And Constance Wu as the lead character, she's, for me, is the reason this movie works so well, is because she is the character going into this this unfamiliar world. She has no idea what's going on around her, and because we follow her, we learn along with her. We're not alienated by it because she knows everything. We learn along with her, and that's why the structure of it works so well. It has a fantastic cast full of really, really talented actors. It's got a lot of laughs, but it's also got a lot of heart as well, and that's what I loved so much about this movie. It's a real gem, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm happy that it did so well, and I'm happy to put it at the top of my best movies of 2018 list. So, Crazy Rich Asians, my favourite movie of 2018. So that's it for the movies of 2018. A lot of good films, a lot of bad films, but like I said in my worst of video, mostly mediocre films. But I'm excited to see what 2019 will bring. I'm actually planning on spending a lot of this year watching more classic movies that I've never actually got around to watching before, but I'll be seeing as many 2019 movies as I can. I don't think I'll see 107 films like I did this year, but I'll see how many I can see. Maybe I'll do another list. It might not be as long as this one. So, like I say, with my worst of, it might not be as comprehensive, but I'll do what I can. So thank you for watching these videos, and take care. Have a great 2019.